Hello everyone and welcome back to Stereo Space. It has been a long time since I've done anything, but I am finally fully moved into college and stuff. The last couple months I've been super busy with that, so that's why I've been off the air for a little while. And actually, I am now in a quarantine dorm because someone I came in contact with got tested positive, so they moved me in here and I can't really leave this room very much, so because of that, I'm very bored, so I thought I would revamp the Stereo Space since I have a lot of free time, and I think it's kind of fitting too that I started Stereo Space in quarantine back in March, and now I get to revamp it in quarantine once again, just in a whole nother state, which is kind of funny. So, so I'm happy to be back, and I'm also happy to have something to do. So I thought I would do something a little bit different today. I'm actually gonna do a check it out for 4 different bands in one video. So you're treated with something extra special for my return. But because there's a couple bands that I've really been getting into that maybe don't have a lot of music out yet, or I haven't really explored their whole discography quite yet. So I don't really have enough to say to cover a full video, and whether it's like 5 to 15 minutes or whatever. So I thought I would just sort of do 4 in a row and condense them into little sections of the video, and that way it'll be long enough to be interesting for however long this video ends up being. But even though I'm going to be talking about the bands less, that doesn't mean that they're any less exciting or any less interesting or anything like that. It just means that they're earlier on in their career, or I'm early in my discovery of the band as well. But you still should check all of these bands out because they're all really, really cool. So without further ado, my name is Corey Schmidt, and welcome to Stereo Space. Alright, so the first band I'm going to talk about is called Dan Luke and the Raid. I actually just finished learning one of their songs on bass. It's super, super fun. They sort of have indie rock and garage rock sort of style with elements of alternative and stuff like that, and little bits of grunge, but not a lot. And they have a really cool style. It sort of reminds me of like early Cage the Elephant, like up until like their Melophobia album in 2013. Where it's just very like simple raw rock music, where it's just sort of bass guitar, drums, vocals, not a whole lot else, and it just works really well. So they only have one album out so far, so that's basically just what I'm going to be talking about, but it's a great album. I just got it on CD recently because I couldn't find it on any other format, but I'll take the CD. And it's really cool. It sort of deals mostly in the lyrics about sort of like adolescence and transitioning into an adult and feeling very like unprepared for adult life and stuff like that, and sort of figuring out like your life morals and what you constitute as good and bad and stuff like that. And it's really, really cool. And one thing that I noticed about the album is that they're maybe not the best musicians, because there's a couple moments where they sort of flubbed the solo, or they were like slightly off key or whatever. But I don't think that hurts them in any way. If anything, I think it helps them at least a little bit, because it sort of ties in with the whole like inexperienced young adult sort of theme throughout the album, and I think it actually works really well and adds to that. So when I'm listening to it, I'm not like, oh, I should have just re-recorded that. I'm like, that actually kind of works. I'm okay with that. I think it sounds really cool. So that's something that they have that makes them very unique and really adds to the overall message of the album, which is really cool. And I'm also excited since this is sort of an up-and-coming band. They don't have a whole lot of music out yet. I'm excited to see what they do next as they become better and better and more experienced musicians. It's really just going to open up a whole new world for them, being able to experiment and stuff like that. And I mean, that's the case for a lot of bands, but I'm especially excited because I'm joining this band early on in their career. So I'm excited to see what they do next, and you should be too. Alright, so I'm just going to play like a segment of a song for each band, because that'll be like a 30-minute video if I played a full song for every band. So I'm going to play a section of a song that is called Fair Mantra. I don't know what that is. I looked it up, and the only thing that came up was the song. I tried on Google Translate, and it said it was English, and I'm like, doubt it, but okay. So it might be an anagram or something, but whatever. So yeah, it's called Farah Mantra. It's from Dan Luke and the Raid, and it's a really, really cool song. And so I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back shortly.
I feel it crawling up my feet straight to my neck. The sound of words calling all of you to rest. Don't let it catch you. Pull your heart out of your chest. You gotta fight it. Hide your heirlooms, hide your flesh.
So before I'm done with Dan Luke and the Raid, I just wanted to talk about the lyrics in that song. In the chorus are really, really cool. I was listening to it this morning, and I actually sort of noticed what he was saying, and I wrote it down because I thought it was really, really cool. He says, "You won't ever see me when the sun is out. All I ever do is pace around my house. I know I never really clarified, but you don't need to worry. I did that myself. Leave me in the silence, put me on the shelf." I think that was really cool. It really ties into the whole inexperienced young adult life sort of theme around this album, and it sort of just talks about how, you know, like, it's basically saying, like, I'm not going to be like the average person. I'm not going to be like running around all happy, because that's just not who I am, and maybe that's not who anybody is. Maybe that's just like a facade, but I'm just going to be in my house hanging out like by myself, and just leave me there, like, don't worry about me, which I think is really cool, and that's something that everybody can relate to at least a little bit in their life. And that's just one of the many cool messages on the album, and so that's one of the reasons why I think you guys should definitely check out Dan Luke and the Raid. Alright, so band number 2 on this super mega episode is called Fencer. They're a really, really cool band. I found them because another band that I've talked about on this channel called Bad Flower, the lead singer actually produced their debut EP, and they actually went on tour opening up for Bad Flower as well. So I was sort of introduced through Bad Flower to check them out, and I did, and I thought that they were really, really cool. They have a really cool style of like rock and hard rock and alternative. And it, once again, sort of like Dan Luke and the Raid, the lyrics are really what jump out at me. That's often the case for a lot of bands. If you can have really cool instruments pretty easily, but it takes like some actually interesting lyrics to really connect with the listener, and Fencer is one of the bands that is able to do that. And they also have similar messages to Dan Luke and the Raid. They're talking about childhood and young adult life and stuff like that, and just sort of generally feeling uncertain. And I think that's one of the main themes of our generation as a whole, is just sort of being thrown into this world and saying, okay, we're not totally prepared, but we're just going to see what happens, because everything's broken and we need to fix it, basically. And I think it's really cool that a lot of bands are talking about that, because it's easy to connect, and it's something that should be talked about too, so I think that's really cool. My favorite song by Fencer is called Growing Up Selfish, and in the song he's talking about being 11, and he's like sort of pissed off at the world, and all these things are going wrong and stuff like that, and it's really, really cool. And I think that's a song I'm going to play a section of a little bit later in the video as well. And throughout the EP, because they just have the one EP out so far, but throughout the EP, the lyrics and the vocals are really, really expressive and emotional. That's another way that you can really connect with the singer. And it works really well because he has very intense lyrics too, so it works well that he's not like monotone or something like that. So I'm going to play a little section of one of their songs that I talked about earlier called Growing Up Selfish. It's a really, really cool song about just sort of figuring out like who you are when you're a kid. You sort of don't even think about that, but then you start thinking about it because all these things are like, in the song, like all these things are happening to you, and you're like, why are things going so poorly and stuff like that. So it's a really, really cool song. And it's really heavy, and it hits, so it's a really good song. So we'll be back in a little bit, but for now, enjoy this song.
I'm 11 now, I'll be 12 soon, then I'll be man, and I can show you it's not much like me to keep it cool. Can't wait to show you all the things I learned in middle school. Who are you to tell me my problems don't matter the same? Just yesterday, my mommy and my daddy told me they both were miserable, and now I gotta live in two homes. My daddy isn't even picking up his phone, and not to be selfish, but I got my own issues too. I can't get out of bed, I'm stuck in my head on what I'm about to. You're lonely day and now I will have to throw you a bone. But listen, bitch, I gotta figure out my guts I don't. Like this, or this. Lonely mind, my lonely mind, I gotta go home. I gotta go home.
Just one thing that I didn't totally love about it so far is that the instruments themselves aren't super unique. The most unique thing about this band so far is really the singer and the lyrics and the vocals and stuff like that. But the riffs and stuff are really cool, but they're not incredibly like unique. There's no like special like effects or anything that I could detect. It just kind of sounds like regular guitar and bass. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes I like it when bands experiment a little bit and try something new. But granted, this is their first release and it's only 4 songs, so they're very young as people and as a band. So you know, I can't expect them to go full electronic right away or whatever, you know? So I'm happy with this right now, and I'm hoping that they take the emotional and impactful lyrics and singing and put that and carry that throughout their career and add depth and complexity to the rest of their instruments and stuff, and that'll make them a really interesting band. And for those reasons, that's why I think you should check out Fencer. Alright, the third band I'm going to talk about is called Calva Louise. It's a really awesome band. It's like 3 different people, all from different parts of the world, and they're all sort of adding their own influences into the music. It's generally a blend of, well, it's sort of hard to describe because every song really has like multiple genres and moods within it, but it's mostly like indie pop elements, and some like alternative, but also like there's some aspects of like hard rock and even heavy metal in some of the songs. It's really cool, the wide range of genres that they cover from song to song, and even within a song, multiple different moods and genres. And that's really cool because as a listener, it makes you really excited to listen to the song because you're sort of taken on an entire emotional journey instead of just being like, yeah, this is a happy song, or like, oh yeah, this is an angry song. It's like it has elements of each, whether it's like from verse to chorus it totally changes, or in the bridge it's like a whole new mood or whatever. It's really cool, and it makes it a lot more exciting for the listener, and it makes them want to listen over and over to catch all the different moods. Just really cool. I haven't totally figured out like what all the lyrics are about yet because I haven't listened to this band a crazy amount, and some of the songs are not in English, so that makes it hard for me. But I don't really care yet about what the lyrics are about because at this point I just really love everything else about the music, and that interests me enough, and I think that's really cool that the band is able to pull that off. They're sort of similar to Dan Luke and the Raid in that they have like, I don't know if this is really the right like term, but it sort of feels like the riffs that they have are like higher pitches when it's like the happier moments, or at least the less screaming moments, and then it just suddenly like drops and jumps into like a super heavy screaming section of the song, and then it's like the low pitch stuff, which I think is really cool that they kind of toss it back and forth, and that makes it a lot more interesting for the listener as well, and I think that's something that's really cool about them. Alright, so I'm going to play a little section of one of their songs. It is my favorite song of theirs and probably one of my favorite songs of last year. It's really cool how they're able to mix around the different moods in this song. I'll try and include a couple of the different moods in the short segment of the song, however long it ends up being, but I'll try and show you the different styles that they go through in the song, which is really cool. I don't think I have a whole lot else to say about this band, so after listening to this song and after finishing the video, make sure to check out Calva Louise. last band I'm going to talk about is one that I have talked about actually in my favorite albums of the decade video over on my other channel, and over there, and now I still don't know exactly how to pronounce the band. I think it is Moyo-Ria, because I think it's like supposed to be Spanish, but if it's like Molo-Rila or something like that, I apologize if I got it wrong, but that's how I've been saying it for like a year, so hopefully that's correct. And this band is really, really cool. They're also like Calva Louise, where they span a lot of different genres and moods, but they don't do it as much per song, they just do it from song to song, or they don't do it as much within a song, they do it from song to song on their album. And this band also only has one album so far, so that's what I'll be mainly talking about. But I think they really have a lot of potential to put out some really, really cool music, because they successfully created songs for multiple different genres, so they have a lot of different routes that they could go. And I think that's really, really cool for a band. It gives them a lot of freedom, but obviously also a lot of pressure, because it's like they have to choose one that's going to make them the most successful. But I think they have a lot of really exciting potential for what they could put out in the future. And they are a pretty young band. They just have the one album so far, but they're really, really cool songs, and they're actually really nice guys as well. They sent me a pin for free, which was pretty cool. Over on Instagram, they had like a little giveaway thing, and I missed it, but I asked them if it was too late, and they said no, and so I gave them my address, and they sent it to me, which was really awesome. So I put it on my hat, and that was really cool. And again, I know I talk about this a lot on this channel, but it's just really important for bands to be not too caught up in their own success. Obviously, this band is young, and they only have the one album, so they can't have too much success yet, and that's something that'll happen down the line if they continue. But just bands not being too obsessed with their own image and their own fame and success is really important, because it keeps them humble. And I think just overall it creates better music, because I mean, a band that is so sure that they're so amazing and the most perfect band ever are not going to care as much about what their music sounds like, because in their head they're already going to think it's amazing. So that's why it's really important for a band to be like, okay, we're not the best yet, but I want to put something out that's really going to be the best thing we can put out. And then that's when they actually create something awesome. And so that's one of the things that I really like about Moyo-Ria and a lot of bands that I talk about on this channel. So I'm going to play a little section of this song, and I think that'll be the end of the video. I'll probably do a little outro, but whatever. I don't know which song I'm going to choose. We'll see which one I think fits the best when I'm editing. But it's either going to be like hard rock, classic rock, or alternative, or a little blend of each of those things, and that's their main style, but they'd like to mix it around. I think that's really cool. So whatever song I choose, I think you'll enjoy it. So I'll be back with an outro, but for now, enjoy this section of the song. So as I was editing the video, I sort of realized that I contradicted myself like multiple times with each band, because I was saying that for Dan Luke and the Raid, I like how it's very simple. There's not a lot of extra elements to it. It's just like regular rock instruments. And then with Fencer, I said that I hope that they branch out to not have just like the basic rock formula, which is like the opposite. And then with Fencer, I talked about how lyrics really
help me get into a band, and it helps me really connect with a band. But then I said that for Calvin Louise, I don't really understand the lyrics yet, but I still love the band anyways. So I guess just what I've been discovering is that I don't really know yet what it is about a band that makes me like them, or about a song or an album or anything like that. I just there's just something about these bands and all the bands that I like that really connect with me, whether it be the vocals or the instruments, the complexity or the simplicity, whatever it is. But I think overall it's just really, as long as there's something about the song or the album or the artist that sort of jumps out at me and catches my attention and is unique, or it takes something done a million times and spins it in a new way or something like that, that's what really makes me interested in music. And so I guess please ignore all my contradictions, and I apologize for it, but just know that, I mean, all of these bands I think are really, really cool in their own way, and they all have something special about them that's really, really cool. So anyways, sorry for that little detour, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.
Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed those 4 bands. I don't know how many of these videos I'm going to do. I'm only here for another 9 days, so we'll see what happens. I'm sure I'll be bored in the future. I'll probably record more of these, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's nice to be back, at least for right now. There's lots of bands that I still enjoy talking about and want more people to know about, like these ones. So I hope you guys do check out all those bands. That wasn't in any particular order or anything like that in terms of like my favorites or whatever. They're all just really, really cool. So I think you should check all of them out. And like always, make sure to let me know if you do check them out in the comments, or if you know me in person. You can't come to my door anymore because I'm in Indiana, but you can text me and let me know if you check them out, because I'd love to talk about these bands. And again, if you have any bands that you want me to check out, let me know as well. Same methods as I just listed. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got, I think. It's nice to be back, and thank you guys very much for watching Stereospace.